welcome in to Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and Overreaction Monday after the Texans lose to the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field, 24-22, a last-second field goal did them in. But we'll be talking about, the main thing that probably you clicked into today's video, the Texans' offensive line. Do we need to change things up? Also, the Texans in the AFC South, is it a foregone conclusion that they're going to win the division? Or could this loss muddy up the waters? And CJ Stroud, is he having a sophomore slump? We'll break all that down on today's show, but I want to thank each and every person who's hit that subscribe button. We passed 19,000 subscribers during our live watch party yesterday. Now on the road to 20K. Do it for Steve Slayton. Do it for the real ones out there. Let's get to 20K subs. Need a little over 900, 907 until we get there. I think we can get there this week before the Colts game on Sunday. So let's get into the first overreaction today. The Texans, they need to change up the offensive line. This one is for Toro heads. 100%. They've got to change things up along the offensive line. That was my number one concern after the Texans game yesterday. After rewatching the film, I said this offensive line played like a JV team offensive line. They were that bad yesterday up against the Green Bay Packers. If you don't believe me, I put out a clip on my X on my Twitter about how bad they were blocking yesterday, and the tape does not lie. Stroud was pressured on 51.7% of dropbacks yesterday. He was sacked 4 times, 2 throwaways. He made a couple plays with his legs getting first downs, but that was out of necessity because he was scrambling for his life yesterday up against the Green Bay Packers. And even not even talking about CJ Stroud going to the run game. It was saved by Joe Mixon, and you look at the, just the box score. If you're looking yesterday and you didn't watch the game and you're like, oh, Joe Mixon, he had over 100 yards rushing. Jeremy, what are you talking about? The run game looked awesome. It really didn't. Joe Mixon had 3 rushes that accounted for 61 yards yesterday. If you take those rushes out, he averaged 2.4 yards per carry. The average depth before he got touched by a defender wasn't even 2 yards. I think it was a little over a yard. So him running past the line of scrimmage, he was getting touched basically at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage on almost every single run play yesterday that the Texans tried up against the Green Bay Packers. This offensive line was getting blown back. This offensive line looked lost. It looks like they didn't know what they were doing out there. And I don't know if this is a Bobby Slowik problem. We need to look at the Texans offensive line coach, Chris Strasser. I don't know what the deal is, but changes need to happen. Do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know by liking today's video. If you think the Texans have to make a change on the offensive line, if you think something's got to change, go down and hit that like button right now for me, because I, for one, think it is a necessity that the Texans change something this week, or they at least have a heart-to-heart, a come-to-Jesus moment with this offensive line, because they played horrific. You will have no chance. Zero, zilch, nada, zip, nothing. It's going to be negative chance to win against any legit team in the NFL if your offensive line is getting throttled like they did yesterday, if they're getting confused easily by basic stunts that you should be able to figure out if you're an NFL offensive lineman. I'm looking at you, Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, Scruggs, Shaq Mason, Titus Howard. There's not one of you that didn't mess up yesterday, that didn't put CJ Stroud in danger, and that didn't miss a blocking assignment yesterday. It was horrendous. And we're talking about the offensive line and guys who didn't play well, this isn't the correct photo for him, but it's okay. We can talk about these guys coming up. Kenyon Green finished with a PFF pass blocking rate of 29 yesterday, allowed 3 pressures, 2 hurries, 1 sack on 29 plays. It was horrendous. And if you agree with me, if you want me to maybe come up with some solutions for the Texans, because it looks like they're not able to do that on their own, go down and type me down in the comment section. Let your voices be heard. If I get 100 me comments in the comment section today, I'm going to do an O-line replacements video this week, looking at some trade targets, maybe some free agents that we need to bring in. Maybe if there's somebody on this team right now that needs to be starting who isn't. Maybe I don't know, Kendrick Green, maybe Jarrett Patterson. I don't know. Something needs to happen. Something needs to change because this offensive line has been the Achilles heel of this team for way too many weeks. We're only in week 8. We're only almost halfway through the season. And this Texans offensive line has single-handedly held this team back week after week after week. So if you're with me, if you agree with me, go type me down in the comments section. Next up, the Texans. Are they easily going to win this division? The AFC South, I mean, a lot of people are saying it's the worst division in football. And the Texans, I mean, this should be a cakewalk. They should easily take the division. I'll give you my take on this in just a moment, but I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over at Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. Basketball, it's back. It is here. We finally have some Rockets basketball. Get started with the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there where you can turn your basketball knowledge, your football knowledge, even your baseball knowledge into some cold, hard cash. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other places that you go to, Prize Picks really puts in and hones in on your sports knowledge. All you got to do is pick 2 or more players, choose more or less on their projected stat types, and place your entry. And if you're like, Jeremy, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't. Give me an example. Well, here's a good one for the Rockets, and they also have a special going on with Anthony Edwards. They have him discounted to 0.5 points. So he has to score 1 point for this one to win right here. Easy dub. And then I have Alperen Şengün, 30.5 points plus rebounds. Give me the more on that. And Jalen Green, 21 points. He has been cooking. I think he'll get easily more than 21 points. So give me the more on that. You can use my picks. Go against my picks. Just do it over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. The Texans. Are they easily winning the division? Give me 2 Toro heads on this one. I still think it's likely, but I think this muddies up the water a little bit as we turn and look at the AFC South standings after Week 7. Texans only 1 game above the Indianapolis Colts. And who do we play in Week 8? Who do we play this weekend? Oh, who is that? Oh, yeah, that's right. We play the Indianapolis Colts in Week 8. So this game becomes, I'm not going to say it's a must-win, but it's a massive game for the Texans this weekend. Because as we look down the schedule, I've said it time and time and time again throughout this year. The Texans have one of the tougher schedules at the end of the season out of any team in the NFL. These are the Colts' final 5 games. Patriots, Broncos, Titans, Giants, Jags. I mean, this could easily be 5 wins for the Indianapolis Colts. None of these teams show me a lot. Maybe the Broncos, their defense is pretty good, but Bo Nix has been very, very up and down this season. The Giants got throttled by the Eagles this week. The Titans, they're the Titans, and then you have the Jags, who might be in contention for the #1 pick this year. I still think the Texans are in a good spot to win, but they have a tough road ahead. I mean, they have a back-to-back where within, 10 days, they're playing the Chiefs and the Ravens at the end of their schedule. This team is not going to get this easily. They have to get some tough, gritty wins along the way, and it starts this week up against the Indianapolis Colts. Like I said, I'm not going to call it a must-win. I'm not going to say that it is a make-or-break game for the Texans. But if they lose this week up against the Colts, things get very interesting in the AFC South. And this brings us to our last point on today's show. CJ Stroud, is he in a sophomore slump? I'm going to give this 1 Toro head. I'm going to say that I don't really think it's CJ Stroud having a slump. I was going to give it 0. I was going to say it's fake news. But I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I thought CJ Stroud looked a little bit better last season than he has starting this year. Now, these numbers, I mean, CJ Stroud, he hasn't really played bad until this week up against the Packers. But in the same breath, I think the expectation for CJ Stroud was MVP season, that he was going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And he's played very well this year, but he's not getting any help from his O-line. He's not getting a ton of help from his wide receivers, especially now that Nico Collins is out. I mean, we can talk about Tank Dell. That's another conversation for another day. I know he's very good, but I mean, are we going to forget he dropped a easy touchdown in the back of the end zone on the Texans' first drive yesterday? And Bobby Slowik, don't think that you're getting out of this easy either. Getting out of this easy. Maybe it's a hot take. Slowik has regressed as a play caller from last season. And from somebody who comes from the Kyle Shanahan tree over from the San Francisco 49ers, this man right here does not know how to scheme up any run plays for this team. I mean, I feel like anytime the Texans have a big play, it's Joe Mixon or Dameon Pierce. They have to break 3 tackles at the line of scrimmage and then break a long run. It's never that the C's just open up and he has a wide open lane. It never seems to be that. Maybe the one long run from Joe Mixon yesterday, it was well blocked and he was able to kind of find a seam and kind of break loose. But overall, the Texans' run game has looked bad this year. They have not looked good, and I don't know if that's more to put on Slowik or more to put on the Texans' offensive line. And the decision at the end of the game yesterday, I said it during the game, whenever it happened, made 0 sense to me. The decision to throw a 5-yard out on 3rd and 15 after you made the Packers burn their first 2 timeouts, what are we doing? You're not going for the end zone. You're not going for a first down. You're stopping the clock, and you're letting them keep one of their timeouts, save one of their timeouts. Makes no sense. I mean, even if it was completed to Tank Dell, which it was called incomplete, even if it was completed, it would have been out of bounds, and the clock would have stopped, and they would have been able to save their last timeout. That was an idiotic call. If you run on first down, you run on second down, F it. Run on third down, Bobby. What are you doing? That is shitty game management, and I don't know if that falls under Slowik or DeMeco Ryans, but both of those guys need to be held accountable for the game management at the end of yesterday's game, because that is unacceptable. You lost that game because of the O-line and poor clock management at the very end of the game. You had the game sealed. You had the ball at the 12-yard line, 2 minutes left. If you were able to do your job, they at least wouldn't have had that timeout that they were able to call with 4 seconds left. Maybe things would have changed. Maybe things wouldn't have. But at the same breath, in the same instance, I just didn't get the play calling there at all. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. You can follow me on social media at Jeremy Chuggs, on IG at Texans Today CS, or on TikTok at Jeremy Chuggs as well. I'll be coming out with more shows throughout the week, so stay tuned. Big week ahead as we get ready for the Colts in Week 8.